Welcome to Keep Your Thrive Alive. I'm Mark Mulligan, and this is the space where I share inspiration, tips and ideas to boost your mood, your energy and your well-being. Today, I'd like to explore a big question. It's one that comes up time and time again when I coach people and run workshops. So often I hear people say, I am so stressed. It's not sustainable and I need help, but I don't feel that I can reach out and ask for that help at work. Every time I hear this, I feel this knot in the pit of my stomach. It makes me feel sad that so often when we need the help most, we feel least able to ask for it. Now, the reasons are complex and each person has their own blockers, but in general, it tends to be more difficult for men than it is for women. And of course, not getting the help when you need tends to make things worse. People get more stressed, and in some cases, it can lead to mental illness. So today I'd like to explore how you can, should you ever need to, feel more equipped and comfortable reaching out for help. Now, this is a complex topic and we have a limited amount of time. So let's look at the small manageable changes you can make so that you can feel comfortable reaching out and begin to feel better. I'd like to explore how you can think, feel and behave in the moment so that you can get the help when you need it. So let's start with thinking. What are the unhelpful thoughts that hold us back from reaching out? And what would be the more helpful thoughts that would support us to take positive action? Unhelpful thoughts could be, they won't like me anymore. They'll lose respect for me. They're too busy or don't care. They won't know how to react. It'll embarrass them. I might even lose my job. I look stupid, weak or ridiculous. This has nothing to do with my work and therefore I should keep it to myself. I don't know how to have this sort of conversation or what to say. Or you might even think, this is too personal. Now, in some cases, some of these things might be true. But in most cases, when we're already in a dark place, we tend to think the worst. We catastrophize. So if these are some of the unhelpful thoughts that are holding us back, most of which are probably untrue, what is the truth? What would be more helpful thoughts? It happens to the best of us. This is so true. Actually, there's some research that suggests that mental health issues are more likely to affect high achievers. A 2008 study published in the University of Cincinnati Law Review suggests that CEOs may be twice at risk of developing depression compared to the general population. In London, where I live, 75% of workers say that stress negatively affects their productivity. So it's more the rule than the exception. This too will pass. It's useful to get perspective on how you're feeling. This is only a moment in time and it will pass. As with all feelings, it is fleeting. Imagine that you could see your entire career on a screen in front of you. All of your past experiences you've had up until this moment in time and imagining all of the future experiences. With your past experience, remember the good times, the jobs you've enjoyed, the things that you've learned, the people that you've worked with who've become your friends, and your own achievements. Our memory is state dependent in that when we're feeling low, we tend to remember the negative things, and therefore the future can look bleaker. But if we can actively change this by trying to encourage ourselves to recall the good times, then we're more realistic about the future. A trouble shared is a trouble halved. Now, although this might sound like a cliche, it's actually been proven to be true. Researchers in California have proved that the best way to beat stress is to share your feelings. They found that sharing with somebody in a similar situation to you has the best results. Other people like to help. They really do. Human beings like to connect and feel that they've had a positive impact on somebody else's life. Having a sense of purpose helps others to improve their well-being. So in a way, you could think about it as if you're doing them a favor. And finally, there's strength in vulnerability. By recognizing we need support and reaching out for help, we put ourselves in the best position to get the resources to sort out the problem. I love Brené Brown's quote, "Vulnerability is not weakness, it is our greatest courage." Let's move on to how you feel. When we're stressed, we can feel in a whole host of ways, but I think the emotion that gets in the way of us reaching out for help is fear. So if fear is the emotion that gets in the way, what would be a way of looking at it that we could overcome the fear? Let me share with you a personal story. A few years ago, I was running late for a meeting. It was a miserable, wet winter's morning and I was running to catch a train in Waterloo Station. Just as I sprinted towards the doors, I heard that dreaded noise, that beep, 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 beep of the doors closing, and instead of stopping, I accelerated. I slipped and fell, ending up with one leg under the train and the other leg on the train just as the doors closed on me. And in that moment, I thought that I was about to die and that the train would take off and drag me along with it. Now, luckily, somebody pressed that emergency button and the doors opened and I was fine. When I got on that train, the fear of almost dying was almost immediately replaced by embarrassment of having made a fuss. So why is it that I'm sharing this embarrassing story with you? Well, if you're fearful of reaching out, I invite you to weigh up that fear of the reaction of the other person in the moment against that concern for yourself for the rest of your life. Or to put it another way, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. What would you advise your best friend to do if they were in a similar situation to you? What would you say to him or to her? So when you've shifted how you think and feel, what might you do? How might you behave? Well, first of all, congratulate yourself. Well done. You're about to take the first step to make things better for yourself. Now let's make this as easy as possible for you. As you consider what to do, I think there are two key questions. First of all, who to reach out to, and secondly, how do you do it? Let's take each of these in turn. When thinking about who to reach out to, we often set ourselves a list of impossible criteria for that person. They have to be compassionate and caring, but not too emotional because I don't want them getting upset. In the workplace, for instance, we might tell ourselves that the person needs to be in a position of power so they can help sort things out, but not too influential that it might affect my promotion prospects. If you find yourself getting in a muddle about who to reach out to, I invite you to ask yourself a very simple question. Think about who would you feel most comfortable talking to, especially if this is your first time to share this at work. And of course, you don't have to talk to somebody you know. Most organizations have employee assistance support. If your company doesn't, then check out the following website for a list of agencies near you that can help: www.befrienders.org. So how might you reach out? There really are so many ways to reach out. And I think one of the barriers to reaching out for help is the fear of an awkward conversation. But it doesn't have to be face-to-face. You might choose to do it over the phone, by email, or a text. Increasingly people, especially young people, are feeling much more comfortable reaching out digitally. In the UK, there's an amazing crisis text line, Shout, www.givesashout.org. And in the US, it's actually called Crisis Text Line, www.crisistextline.org, where all the support is via text. All of these are valuable tools to help you when you are in need. So I hope it's been useful to think about how you can easily change how you think, feel and behave so that you can be more comfortable and confident to reach out for help, especially at work. The key takeaways from this video are: thinking. We tend to catastrophize when we are stressed, but what's really the truth? It happens to most of us and the best of us. This too will pass. It's only a moment in time. A trouble shared is a trouble halved, and people like to help. Basically, you're helping them to feel good about themselves. And finally, there's strength in vulnerability. Emotion. It's normal to feel fearful when reaching out in the moment, but think about the long term and afterwards how glad you will be that you did. Behave what to do. Make this easy for yourself. Choose someone you're comfortable reaching out to and do it in a way that's easiest for you, whether that's face-to-face, texting, or any other option. There's something that happens when you reach out to somebody for help that might help them also. When you reach out, it creates a permission space for others to do the same, thereby creating a culture which is more supportive and ultimately stronger for everybody. I hope it's been useful for you to reflect on how it is that you can reach out for help for the people that you work with in a way that feels comfortable so that you can overcome stress and thrive more of the time. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What was the most useful thing about this video? What do you think would be the most useful thing for the people that you work with? What are the thoughts that are normally holding you back? And what would be the thoughts that would be more useful for you personally? And finally, what are you going to do? Please leave your comments in the section below. And I look forward to seeing you next month. In the meantime, be well and thrive. Now I'd love to hear from you. What's the most useful thing about this video? What do you think will be most useful for the people that you work with? What are the thoughts that normally hold you back? And what are the thoughts that will be more useful for you personally? And finally, what are you going to do? Please leave your comments in the discussion forum to the left. I look forward to seeing you next month. And in the meantime, be well and thrive. When you reach out, it creates a permission space for others to do the same, thereby creating a culture which is more supportive and ultimately stronger for everybody. I hope it's been useful for you to reflect on how it is that you can reach out for help for the people that you work with in a way that feels comfortable so that you can overcome stress and thrive more of the time. I look forward to seeing you next month. And in the meantime, be well and thrive.